Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Higher Space Presents. It's unusually cloudy out there today, which makes a nice change, I suppose. Now, as I was kindly introduced, my name is Martin Fullard. I'm the editor of Conference News magazine and the editorial director of MASH Media. Now, today we're going to be discussing the must-have tech skills of the post-pandemic world for event professionals. Now, I think we all agree that the landscape has changed very quickly. It's not unreasonable to say that we've all been trying to keep up. Now, there are not many certainties around at the moment, but if there is one certainty, it's that event professionals are going to need some technical skills to be able to deliver digital events and digital experiences when we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, to share their expertise, I am delighted to be joined by an esteemed brace of panelists who I'm now going to ask to introduce themselves. Carla, if you could explain who you are to our audience, please.
Sure, thanks, Martin. My name is Carla Hallmark Jones. I am the head of events at Nesta. And for those of you that don't know Nesta, we are an innovation foundation.
Thank you, Carla. And Sanj, please tell us who you are.
Yes, so my name is Sanj Surati, and I'm the founder and digital atelier for an innovation agency called Tiger Heart.
Great stuff. Carla, I'm going to start with a discussion point with you, really. And I'm just curious, have you had to adapt your technical skills in response to more virtual events and experience? And in what area of that field specifically? You know, what have been the learning curves? And are there any useful resources or ways that you secured guidance on this?
Sure. I mean, yeah, absolutely. We've had a massive learning curve. And prior to COVID, Nesta didn't run any digital events at all. We would occasionally live stream our face-to-face events, but that was about it. So I think the biggest learning curve was looking at our content and holding our nerve and not resisting the urge to flip everything straight away to digital, and looking at what content worked best in a digital way. We are an events team housed within a communications team, so that's probably a different experience from some of the other viewers today, but I think that was probably our biggest learning curve, is looking at the content, making sure that we were taking the best of our face-to-face content and transposing it over to digital. I'd say another learning was that as an events team, you can be as prepared as you'd like, practice, but you need to make sure that all of your speakers are prepared as well. And so for us, many of them were not used to digital events, they weren't used to the tech, and so we were kind of all learning on the job, as it were. I think resource-wise, what's really helped me is that I'm part of a couple of networking groups, and that peer-to-peer exchange of which platforms people were using, what pitfalls they were experiencing, really helped me, because it's, there's so much out there and the market was completely flooded. There was lots of noise. It was very easy to go down the rabbit hole of looking at one platform and another. And then trying to establish which would be best for your business and your types of events. So I definitely would encourage people, if they're struggling, to seek out peer groups on LinkedIn, or obviously Higher Space have got a great network of event professionals.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of interesting things there, and I might come back to you in a few moments with a couple of follow-ups. But Sanj, if I could turn to you, I just want a bit of a more broad highlight overview of where we are, really. What technological innovations and trends do you think are on the road ahead for us?
With regards to events particularly?
Yes.
I mean, I've been working in the tech space, digital space, for just over 20 years now. And when I started in the digital arena, I noticed that human behavior was changing dramatically, and people were just evolving to this new digital landscape. I think what has happened with particularly with regards to COVID, the COVID scenario, is that digital has been just kind of been tested to an extreme, and luckily the platforms are in place to allow people to do events digitally. Where I see changes happening in the future with regards to how events are going to change is a lot of the bot technology that we've been working with over the last 5 years has started to, there have been questions from businesses asking about how can AI affect a digital event space. And one of the key things we've seen growth in is we've met a lot of event professionals who are running digital events that want to have just a small piece of artificial intelligence that manages who's in the room, so who's at the event. And we're in early stages at the moment, but the idea is to create some form of format that has a digital AI aspect to it that controls certain things, like who goes into an event or who is moderating an event. So we're having like really interesting conversations. The key thing to really understand, though, is it's all about the consumer and how they use the technology. One of the reasons why Zoom has been so prevalent over this COVID era is because it's just so easy to use. Even though there's security bugs that were around a couple of months ago, people were still using the platform because it was a simple platform. And it's meant that other web meeting platforms have had to kind of change their game and react to that change in human behavior.
Do you think that the back-end software, the back end of these platforms is simple enough to use, or has there been a rush from the actual manufacturers of them to make them more user-friendly? Now everyone's just jumping on board.
So I think some of them are simple to use. I think the problem was that a lot of these platforms weren't being used to the capacity that they're being used now. So what that's meant is companies have had to kind of amalgamate what it is that they're offering the consumers. So for example, Skype, who's been around since the early noughties, has really had to compete against Zoom, who's a new player to the space, because their platform, and I mean this with respect, wasn't as user-friendly as they thought it was. But there's other things as well. The algorithms have started to change. So the way Zoom works with regards to how people connect with each other, the data basically goes up into the cloud, and that's where the conversation occurs, whilst a lot of the other platforms were relying on your bandwidth to ensure that what you saw was what the other person saw, if that makes sense. So instead of using a one direction pipe or a two-way direction pipe, the Zoom platform basically goes up into the cloud, and that's where all the compression and the algorithms mess around with the data. So a couple of the platforms that have been around for years have looked at that and gone, oh God, I didn't realize that was the way forward. For many reasons. One, because they didn't think about it, but two, also their digital architecture is built a certain way. And because so many people are using Zoom, lots of the other platforms are starting to have to reevaluate how their digital architecture sits and lives.
Great. So I've got a question for both of you. So for Carla, I'm going to come back to you. We've mentioned in my opening eulogy that the event prof community is going to need certain digital skills. What specific skills, hard and soft, are going to be required of event profs going forward with regards to obviously digital events?
So, I mean, I think for my team, what I found over the past couple of months is that knowing the tech inside out, and for some people, as an event professional, it's something that you probably wouldn't have encountered before. So it's been a really steep learning curve, getting your head around how things work at a very basic level. We are using Zoom at the moment, and we're using a couple of other platforms. So it's kind of really getting your head into how it works, which isn't something that, we've always outsourced IT and audiovisual to other companies. So to avoid that kind of massive overhead of outsourcing absolutely everything, I think, depending on which organisation you're from and how much budget you're playing with, event profs are really going to have to get under the skin of the technology they're using. Something that's come up over the past month for me as well is basic video editing. So if you want to take your content and make it evergreen, which is obviously something that, it's kind of a no-brainer really, you need to have resource within the team to be able to do some editing. So that's what we're looking at with the team at the moment, is taking some kind of basic video editing courses to make it look a bit more professional. And we really don't do lots of whizzy stuff with our especially with our In Conversation With events, it's very much putting kind of end cards and title cards on. But at the moment, we just don't have that resource in-house. So those are a couple of kind of practical things. I think generally, there's other kind of things we've been looking at. So making sure that digital events are as accessible as face-to-face. Obviously, it's super important. It's something that should be at the forefront of everyone's mind. But I think because it's digital, the assumption wrongly is that it's accessible by everyone. So, when we don't have it 100% right yet, but it's something that's very much a massive priority for us. And that's captioning, it's audio descriptions of images, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen that HireSpace is currently running a poll alongside this session, and I think the question was, how do you currently develop your technical knowledge? A quarter say they're learning on the job, and another quarter say through training courses and workshop. I don't know what the other half are doing, but that's quite interesting. Sanj, what skills do you think the guys need out there?
Yeah, so as I said before, I've been working in the digital and tech spaces for just over 20 years. And where I've seen businesses thrive is when they collaborate, when they look for a business that understands the skill set that they're looking to explore, and they collaborate with those businesses. I think it's great that a lot of businesses are just diving in without any kind of idea of what they're going to learn from it. And I think that's a great first step, because it allows you to make mistakes and learn from the processes that you do. But yeah, collaborate. I mean, there's loads of digital tech agencies who can train you up. And I'm not trying to, I never try to pitch my business on these types of discussions, but if there's any businesses that want to learn how to explore these new mediums, contact us, and we do like our sessions where we come in and show teams, etc. Collaboration is the key, because there are skill sets that you just don't understand, and all you need to do from a collaboration point of view is just explore the platform. That's the key thing, is really just see where this thing is going to be right for your business. Just touching on a point that was spoken about just before, it's really important as well to, when you explore these platforms, is invest the right amount of time on the platform. There's lots of events teams who are managing lots of different things, and then they're trying to manage something else which impacts their workload. So just hire in a few interns that are really excited about these platforms and get them to explore the platform as a support mechanism to your current workflow. Or just hire in a temp as well, just to work with the platform for a couple of months and get the best of it. One of the great things I love about the whole HireSpace experience I'm having now is that Nick, your tech person, was doing a great job in informing the people involved in this call how to use the system. And it's just things like that. If you're mediating a group of people on a Zoom call and you're worried that someone might come in and take their clothes off, have someone that's going to manage the amount of people the people that are on the call, and get them to monitor what's going on. I know that might sound a bit weird, but at a real live event, you'll have security, or you'll have a producer that's managing everything. So you need to kind of think about how this technology needs to be applied to the current live event space, and get the best out of it.
Okay, great, guys. We've got quite a few questions coming in from the audience. Oh, pick and mix. I'll have to decide, where do I go first? Alexandra Ballas has asked, I would really like to hear from the panelists around charging for digital or hybrid events. There obviously are times when the purpose of the event is not commercial, but when it is, what are your thoughts? Carla, I see you nodding there, so can I fire that one at you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Martin. I think I've got a commercial events background, so I spent 15 years within a media company working on commercial events. So I'm kind of straddling both of those sides of things. I think it depends on what you did before. If you didn't charge before, then that's an easy. If you were charging for face-to-face events, I think it's a very fine balance, because obviously people aren't getting the same experience. But if you don't charge or you discount it in some way, my feeling on it is that you then somehow devalue the product. And if you use the right tech and you design the right experience, then people will have a very similar experience. Obviously, it's not exactly the same. And there are some amazing platforms out there that allow for networking, for matchmaking, for kind of water cooler moments, drinks after the event. And so I think you can deliver a really slick experience and not have to discount it, or feel that somehow a digital event is a lesser experience. We are looking at basically we were charging a very nominal amount for some of our events at Nesta, and I think what we're looking to do is to leave those events for free. We're not charging them for the moment, and then look to do a kind of very big, bold event where we charge a very kind of cost neutral amount. So it is changing the way we look at it slightly, but I think for commercial events, like I said before.
Great. Well, another question here from Faresh, and Sanj, I'm going to ask you this one. From experience, are there any specific platforms that you would recommend or indeed even avoid?
I think Zoom is the game changer at the moment. It's the platform that's simple to use. I feel Microsoft Teams, Skype have got a lot of catching up to do. That's not to say they won't catch up, but there's a lot of problems with that platform at the moment. Google have just launched their Hangouts in Gmail. It's basically like an SDK that lives inside your email, which I haven't used that yet, but I've heard good things about. Facebook have launched their Rooms, which is very similar to the Zoom platform. So those are three things that I would suggest to explore. I do a lot of stand-up comedy, and I've been doing a lot of stand-up comedy shows via StreamYard, which is kind of like a really kind of raggedy platform, but it's really useful. It has like backstage areas and stuff. YouTube is still a fantastic live event streaming platform. A lot of people haven't really spoken about that during the COVID period, but it has all the tools, just like Facebook Live has, to allow you to do what you want to do. I think that the things that are going to change dramatically, and I believe they're going to change in the next sort of 3 to 6 months, is how you apply a payment aspect to this type of streaming service. The two brick walls that appear, the first one is the legalities, because you can't just set up a payment service. You need to have a legal procedure to allow you to set up a payment platform. And then the second thing is encryption, because even though you're charging a premium so people can come into this virtual world and engage with a platform, anything that's digital can be hacked pretty much. So those are the two brick walls that need to be overcome. And I don't think events companies have the time and resources to overcome those issues. So it just goes back to what I said initially, is there needs to be a discussion about collaborating with the right platform. Now, Facebook have a great business team. There just needs to be someone from the event space that's got the kind of power and gravitas to go up to Facebook and say, do you know what? There's an opportunity here. Let's set up a paying portal. Same with YouTube, same with Google. I've never had a business discussion with Zoom, but my assumption is Zoom are probably thinking about this now, and maybe now's the time for events professionals to approach Zoom and say, look, I love your platform, it's great, but I want you to come up with something that's right for my business, particularly with payment. Because obviously, everyone wins. But then the last thing, again, which I touched on before, is that encryption. Someone needs to talk about how you encrypt a live event that has a paid aspect to it. Once we've cracked that, there'll be all sorts of live events that will be streamed, whether it's a live concert of, bands that are performing, or live comedy. The way things are done at the moment, particularly in the comedy space, is that you perform, but then it's like you do a donation, and then you're given a code, and then people start giving that code to everyone, and then it goes crazy. So there is an opportunity there.
Great. We've got time just to squeeze in one more question. And Carla, I'm going to come back to you. It's a really interesting one, actually, from Sam North. He's interested to know on where the management of digital events should best sit in an organisation. Should it be part of marketing, operations? Does it need a new team, or can it even be outsourced? Where should it sit in that organisation, do you reckon, Carla?
I'm going to be really annoying and say I think it depends on the organisation. I think it depends on the skill set of the people you've already got on the team. I mean, obviously no one's going to want to throw money at this to hire in a separate team given the number of events that have been pulled, cancelled, postponed. It really depends on the organisation. I think you just need to do a skills assessment. You know, if you have skill set in-house, if you have resource in-house, or willingness to learn, then take that those staff and upskill them. For us, we as an events team sit within the communications team, and we're a central services team, so we run events on behalf of our internal clients. And we have had some support from IT, but I do think it needs to be, as Sanj was saying, a collaborative effort. You know, if you are in a commercial organisation where you have marketing and operations, they should be joining together to look at how you can capture content and then amplify it. For example, make evergreen stuff that's going to keep going and keep working for you. So, sorry, it's a bit of a cop-out, but I would say it really depends on the team that you have and the organisation that you've got. And again, the age-old thing of how much money you've got to throw at it.
That's a fair enough answer to me. The rule book is blank, and it's up to us to decide what the new landscape looks like. And I think the good news is it can be whatever we want it to be. Anyway, folks, that brings us to the end of our session. Carla and Sanj, I am grateful for your input today. That was really interesting. I hope our audience found it insightful as well. So from me, everyone, thank you very much.
Thank
you, Martin.